Yeah, hey guys. So I obviously started off by just thanking you guys for adjusting to the schedule. It was a light practice today, as you saw. We were able to get some rest days and vet days in there, and some guys with precaution. For us, it's been a different morning, which is stating the obvious. Different type of timeline for us, and we wanted to just be smart. We thought it was smart. There's a lot of us. With lack of sleep, and then coming off of yesterday's scrimmage, we just felt physically and mentally it was good to have this walkthrough. Everybody understands right now in our building that we keep saying expect the unexpected, and we talk about adaptation and being able to adjust on the run, and that's kind of what happened here in the last 12 hours, 18 hours. So again, appreciate y'all's flexibility, and everyone is in really good spirits. And I think for the most part, it's just good to get back out here and just be able to get on the grass.
Pat Finley.
Hey, Matt, you said 18 hours. When did you first find out that there was a positive, and walk me through what your life has been like since?
Yeah, it's I guess 18 hours might be a little bit of a stretch. Probably more like 12, but at around 2:51, I think my wife turned around and gave me the forearm shiver and said, answer your phone. I had it on vibrate. And so I answered the phone and saw it was Andre. And usually when there's a call at 2:51 in the morning, that's there's something to it. So that's exactly what happened. Andre gave me the call. Andre, myself, and Ryan started talking through everything. And we were on the phone, really just communicating with everyone in the building, trying to come up with a plan as to how we, thought was the best thing moving forward. This is the first time we've been going through this. So I was really just happy with how we all handled it, and thought, considering everything, it went really well. And now we just keep moving forward.
So he told you that there were positives, and then did you have to bring the guys back in for more tests? How did that work?
Yeah. So basically when you get that call, you're trying to figure out, okay, who they are, and then really from there you have to come up with a plan. And so really for us, it's okay, what's the best thing moving forward? What does that mean? Well, having early morning practices and a lot of coaches and players getting here early in the morning to do their COVID testing, we wanted to make sure that we caught people before they left their house to come in here. So we put together a pretty good action plan with our head of security, and we just discussed on how we wanted to handle it. And the biggest thing in these type of situations, Pat, is there's the communication process has to be really, really clean and clear. So that's where I was really excited for the way that we went about communicating with the coordinators, the coaches, players early, just letting them know, hey, just hold on for now. We're going to delay this thing. Let us work through this a little bit. And then we were able to get those players and everybody involved in the positive test. We were able to get them in and obviously get retested and come back with the second test, and it came back all negative. So then now we had to go, okay, now what do we do? And so that's when we went ahead and figured that we're able to still move forward with practice. We delayed it. And we actually had a Zoom call. I gave about a 15-minute warning, and we had 140 people on a Zoom call this morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. And we were able to talk through what our timeline is going to be today. They adjusted on the run. I've been having one-on-one conversations with players on the team that have any questions and concerns, all completely open, all completely honest. We're in this thing together. We're a family. And, just everybody wants to know where things are at. And that's all we can do is give them what we know.
Colleen?
Hey, Matt. I guess, all of this is so new for everybody. What was the biggest thing you learned in this process? And also, does it give you any concern that there could be something like this that happens when you get closer to the season during a game week, and there could be false positives?
Yeah, hi, Colleen. Yeah, I would say this. So a few things. We keep talking about the word trust a lot right now. And during times like this, there's just a lot of different emotions that people have. But in the end, trust takes time to earn. And I hope that the way that we have done things here with this organization, you build that with your players, you have one-on-one conversations. And so when you build that trust, you're able to do everything that you can in your control to make sure that if it means, hey, we're going to come in here and have practice, they understand why they ask questions. And in regards to the future, I just know this. I know that everything that's going on right now in the last 12 hours, the NFL and the Players Association is going to do everything possible to get things to where they want it and to figure out, where things are at. And we're just going to control what we can control and put a smile on our face, understand that we're going to expect the unexpected and then communicate. And so far, I can't say enough about our players and our coaches and how they've accepted this and understand. And we've just done it really all together.
Brad?
Matt, curious about Latavius Simmons. We haven't seen him out there for a couple days now. And can you tell us, like, how many of your 9, how many were players, how many were coaches, how many were staff?
Yeah, Brad, it's a good question in regards to both of those. I mean, so with 73 with LC Simmons, again, he has I have to go. I don't even have the injury report in front of me. We have so many little nagging injuries right now, but he has just a little bit of an injury that's nothing too concerning for us right now. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but he'll be okay. He hasn't been out
That's
here,
okay.
and then in regards to who they are, it's just for us right now, just keeping that internally. Not that it's I just think it's not for us to get into all that right now. It's obviously very fresh to all of us and just going through that. So I hope you can kind of understand that.
JJ?
Hey, Matt, when Andre gave you that call in the middle of the night, did he initially say, hey, we think these might be false positives? Or was there a time period where you're thinking like, oh my God, we've got 9 people who have coronavirus in our building? Right.
No, there was nothing about false positives at all. I mean, it was all, hey, this is where we're at. And to be quite honest, we're just we're so proud of the way we've done things here. My initial 5-second gut reaction when I was told that was just pure disappointment, frustration. And, it's hard when you hear that because everyone's doing such a great job of doing everything that we possibly can in our control to prevent stuff like this. So when you hear this, you just initially think, wow, okay, now what's next? And you start getting into, they have the whole deal with the tracing system where they start seeing, okay, how many people were close to those people? And now how many does that entail? And where do they go? So once we got through that, you initially think, hey, this is real. We got to deal with this now. What's the plan? And so, when the plan is X amount of numbers of people, you put together a strategy that this is what we're going to do. And then all of a sudden, throughout hours of discussions and talk, as we got further and further into it, we realized really what was going on. And it made you feel better knowing that it's not what you're doing here. There's some other stuff involved.
Cam Ellis?
Yeah, Matt, I was going to ask, how far into the process did you guys sort of start to understand that this was maybe a league-wide or semi-league-wide processing thing? And so how much of a impact did that have on what you had planned for today's workout?
Yeah, so in regards to finding out about more teams and league-wide, that wasn't until this morning, really, when everything started happening. You try to get answers and you start finding out, okay, they're going to come back in and take their second test and you're not sure, are they coming back positive or negative? And when they all came back negative, then that's when you start realizing, okay, what's going on here? And then you start finding out that there's other teams that this is happening to. And now you automatically see, the one thing that has to happen is you get a lot of phone calls, a lot of text messages, and a lot of questions from a lot of people on the team. They want to know, hey, what's going on? So as you're trying to develop a plan, Ryan, myself, and Andre, we're trying to develop a plan of action. You're also trying to make everybody at ease and explain to them what's going on. And so that's where our coaching staff and other support staff did a great job, great line of communication of saying, hey, listen, just put everything on hold right now. and let coach get back to you. And so once we got more information, I think, Faber did a great job of reaching out to you guys as soon as we knew, literally as soon as we found out really what was going on. It was out there to you guys, because we know too that y'all travel here and in the morning practice, and just trying to help you guys too. And so really when y'all found out is about probably 10 minutes after we found out. And I forget what your other question was, but that's kind of the timeline of that.
Mark Potash.
Hey, Matt, I know it's only been a week in pads, but what's your most honest assessment of your offensive line? Have you seen indications that Juan Castillo is giving you the upgrade you were looking for, or in all honesty, you're not going to know that until you face the Lions?
Yeah, well, yes and yes. I do see for us right now, I thought yesterday in the scrimmage, we told you when you watch the tape, you're able to see a lot more. And watching the tape yesterday, I thought our line did a really good job at opening up some lanes. Now, we went 1v1 and it was thud. And so it's not quite the same for both sides, but it's still good to be able to see the angles they take and really where the backs are at with their vision. So I like that part. In regards to week one, we're not going to know fully until we get into it as to how effective or how much better our run game does get, or our offense in general. So I'm excited for that part. But there's just so much going on right now, and we're just trying to really trust each other, and that's really where we're at.
Adam Johns.
Hey, Matt, to go back to the false tests and whatnot, how would you characterize maybe the mood on that large Zoom call, especially amongst the players and coaches? And then how would you maybe characterize your own sense of relief once you realized that you could go ahead with practice today, knowing that they were false tests? Yeah,
Adam. So initially when you get on there, you can see that they're wanting to know what the heck's going on, right? What's going on. And obviously in today's social media world, there's a lot of people that will, put things out there and say things. And Ryan and I felt like it was very important to make sure that our players and their families and our coaches and support staff and their families knew what was going on and heard it from us. And so I was able to reach out to leaders on the defense, to leaders on the offense, to Pat O'Donnell, and just talk to them and explain to them the same conversation 3 times, along with the coordinators, et cetera. And it was literally sometimes there was 2 or 3 conversations because things were fluid. They were very, very good on the Zoom call. They understood. They asked some questions. Inevitably, when something like this goes down, you're going to ask questions. That's human nature. They want to know the why part. And so it's easy for us to be able to tell them, hey, this is what we know. We've never been through this before, but I promise you this, you will get every bit of honesty and care as to how we tackle this thing. And if you trust us and you realize that we will never put you or your family in harm's way, then let's go practice and let's go do our deal. And that's what they did. And that's a credit to them. They didn't flinch. It was great being out here. And now we just continue with the day.
Mark Grody.
Matt, a couple quickies. Were Robinson and Hicks again held out of practice today? And do you have any kind of updated timeline on the quarterback competition that you'd be willing to share with us?
Yeah, Mark. So the quarterback competition timeline, I can tell you all, just to save you from the questions down the road here, it's not going to happen soon. We're going to take our time with it. So that's that part. And I understand that we all want to know right away. We do too, but we want to use, it's already a shortened training camp. So we want to be able to use as many reps as we can get with them. And then in regards to Allen Robinson and Hicks, again, vet days for them. Allen had the ankle, and really with both of them, there's no concern. It's just more so of, is it worth it right now to put them out there with where they're at? I just don't think it is, and we all kind of agreed on that. So we're going to continue to have some vet days that y'all will see. A few years ago, we were a very young team. We've added some vets that sometimes will need it, so that's what you'll get.
I've got time for a few more. Jason? Let's go Deion Miller.
Matt, having gone through somewhat of a fire drill, for lack of a better description, do you feel more confident about moving forward with the season, knowing what to do if something like this happens again?
Yeah. Hi, Dion. I do. If you go into this season as a leader, or really anybody in this building, and you kind of prep for this stuff, then it doesn't catch you off guard. And this is definitely a year of the contingency plan. You have to have what ifs and backups really in everything that you do, whether it's positions or whether it's scenarios of what could happen. We're still too, just like we said to y'all before, when you get to the season, you could get into this situation with players that all of a sudden you don't have going into a Saturday or Sunday game. It could happen with coaches. So that right now for us is just making sure that we trust the league, which we do. We trust the Players Association that we'll get this thing going. And we just want to be able to do everything that we can on our part, which is wearing masks all the time when we're here in these buildings. Wear the mask. And you do that and you continue to follow what they're saying, then you just gotta trust in the process.
JJ?
Hey, Matt, we haven't had a chance to ask you about the report that you guys are going to sign Cairo Santos. Is there anything going on with Eddie, or are you just bringing him in for some competition?
No, so a couple things in regards to Cairo. So Cairo is in, and it goes back to that contingency plan, backup plan that we have. That's been going on for a long time. I'm not saying specifically with Cairo, but just with bringing – we need to have another kicker on this roster. It's that position, knowing kind of where the COVID testing is right now. We all feel it's very important that you have somebody that can come in if something was to happen to Eddie. And then in regards to Eddie yesterday with the question, it's kind of ironic that the whole thing came out yesterday with Cairo coming in, but with Eddie, just being completely transparent with y'all, when that question was asked yesterday at the end, I hadn't really had a one-on-one conversation with Eddie in regards to his situation. So I wanted to be able to answer it better than not giving you an answer I didn't really know a lot about. I had a good conversation with him yesterday afternoon, and he does have a little bit of a groin that he's dealing with right now. But I guess maybe to a fault of mine, I don't like to make a big deal out of it. But I guess maybe I should. And so Cairo coming in, I feel really good with him coming in here. Hopefully with Eddie, if we would have went full go today, go out there and kick. But it's just, again, he's, just again, like I said, being transparent, that's where that's at with him. And then in regards to Cairo, I'm excited to get him in here. And now we feel more confident with that, in that situation.
And last one, Brad.
Hey, Coach, pardon me if you have addressed this and I missed it on the call, but do you have an update on Jason Spriggs after he had to leave practice early yesterday?
Yeah, no update on him. He's doing really well right now. So we'll just Andre's had quite the evening. So we'll gather back together and get with him. But we don't have any updates right now in regards to with him or really a lot of the other injuries.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Y'all, thank you very much.
Hey, David, how's it going?
Yeah, how you doing?
Good. From our perspective, looks like you might be a little slimmer, a little quicker than last year. Do you feel any of that? Is there a feeling in your body that you're a little different than a year ago?
Yeah. I definitely think that was a big emphasis for me this offseason, just being sure that I focus on my body maintenance, being sure I put the right things in my body, and being able to cut some weight and be able to, move a little limber, because last year I wasn't moving the way I know I could.
JJ Stankovitz.
Hey, David, when you say you weren't moving the way you know you could last year, what do you mean by that? How did that affect your game?
I think for me, I just was a lot slower than I know I could, I was capable of moving it, and it affected the game. I kind of let myself get in the way of myself as far as what I ate last year. I didn't really care. I was a rookie. I just kind of was just eating whatever. But now, it's definitely a main vocal point in my everyday life is just being sure that I put the right things in my body so that I can carry over into the field.
Kevin Fishbane.
So, David, what specifically did you do this offseason to get your body to where you want it to be and to pick up some speed?
I stayed away from a lot of the foods that cause a lot of inflammation. I cut away red meat. I ate a lot of fish and leaner protein like chicken. I liked a lot of quinoa. So that was pretty like a lot of vocal points for the way I ate and what I chose to fuel myself with for me the off season. So when I went to training, I felt 100%. I didn't feel sluggish. I felt like I was ready to go, and I felt like I benefited from that.
Pat Finley.
David, what were you eating last year that you're not allowed to eat anymore?
I was eating like Flamin' Hot every day. My favorite thing was like Flamin' Hot beef jerky and like some Swiss cheese. Probably like a bad to y'all, but to me it was the best thing in the world. But I realized that wasn't good for me. Whenever I had the craving for like a Krispy Kreme donut or something, I definitely go have one back in the day. But now I fight the urge to go have one.
Dan Wiederer.
David, in conjunction with the physical changes, mentally, what's different for you in year two, and where do you feel more comfortable when you're out there in the backfield?
Yeah, for me, year two is definitely a big leap from, of course, from my rookie to my second year. Just being able to understand a lot of stuff I didn't understand as fast last year. It's like understanding the offense more, knowing like concepts, knowing like defenses, knowing the personnel. So just being on top of that and being able to, how fast the game was for me last year, seeing it kind of slow down here is pretty cool to see.
Pat Finley.
How do the changes to the run scheme affect you? Do they fit you better, do you think?
I think all run scheme is pretty good. As long as I just get the opportunity to run and, be able to be out there with my teammates and with my line and be able to run the ball is pretty sweet. So run scheme now is great. Every run scheme to me is pretty good. So I love it anyway.
Cheryl Ray.
David, you're a young player, but how does a quarterback competition affect what you do on the field?
I kind of don't, look at it that way. I kind of look at it as both of those guys are great guys, great quarterbacks, and to see those guys just go out there every day and, just make each other better is the big thing for me. So it really doesn't affect me much because they're both great human beings and even better quarterbacks.
Dan Wiederer.
David, when you guys get going in 3 weeks and you go into Ford Field and there's no fans in the stands, what are your curiosities about what the game day atmosphere is going to be like for the first time in a long time where you're playing in an empty place?
I think the atmosphere will be pretty much different. You'll catch me like dancing by myself a lot more because I don't have many eyes on me. So I think the big thing is for me, it's still football at the end of the day, being able to, take it serious and also being able to go out there and have fun at the same time.
Mark Grody.
David, how much weight did you lose? Is there a number on it?
I went from last year I was playing like 223, 224. I'm like 218 now.
Pat Finley.
What did you play at in college, and was there a little bit of muscle gain too if you put on weight between the end of college and the start of the pros?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely focus a lot more on being sure that I was strength conditioned. And I say that in the sense of being sure that I was still lifting weights. Because you hear a lot of stories of guys get to the NFL, they stop lifting and stop doing stuff like that. But I'd be sure that I emphasize that into my daily regimen when I worked out. Just being sure that I've balanced both things as it being, conditioning, strength, mobility, all of the things that really play a large part in being successful here in the pros. So just being sure that I, focus on, taking care of myself and being sure that I still continue to grow with my strength.
Two more for David. Dan Wiederer.
David, maybe a strange and general question, but how do you feel physically? What feels different to you with everything that you've improved and modified?
I feel amazing, actually. I think everything just feels good right now. as far as my body. I'm not as sore as I was last year, just because of the lack of foods that I don't eat that has a lot of inflammation to it. So I feel good in that part, and just running, just being able to run and just feeling good at how I run and being able to make the right cuts and stuff like that. Definitely, it feels good. So I feel good.
Last one for David, Pat Finley.
Give me a good one.
What did you do during the pandemic? Where were you? How were you working out? With whom were you working out? And just how bizarre was the whole thing?
That was the best you can give me, Pat. For me, the off season, I stayed here in Chicago. I worked out with probably the best strength trainer in the world. Her name is Jordan. She trains over at EFT, but she's awesome. Her and her family were the best. They took care of me as far as working out, being sure that I can go have a place to train. And then I had another speed trainer, Coach Corfus. He's well known, trains a lot of like Olympians and stuff like that with my speed. So those two and two went hand in hand, and I definitely was able to grind and being able to go back and forth with them and just get better every day.
Awesome. That's it, David. Appreciate the time.
No problem. Thank you all.
Rewind Sports 60. From the city of big shoulders, the jewel of the Midwest, comes a sports show that's one of a kind. From iconic players to iconic stadiums to iconic teams, this is my kind of town. Chicago! And the Rewind Sports 60 is my kind of show. From Air Jordan to Sweetness to Papa Bear Hallis, this city works hard, but plays even harder. Danny Carlino and Jerry Riles bring you the Rewind Sports 60. Live. The Rewind Sports 60 starts now.
Marver to drive, deep left field, and it is gone! Bring him home, 2-0 Sox. That was cannon fire. Stayed up, Jose swats it left center field, way back there at the wall. Bring them all home, 3-run home run. Jose Abreu, and the Sox have stormed out to a 5-0 lead. Working very quickly, the 1-0. That ball's hit well, deep left field, and gone again! Oh, a big plus sign for the Sox. Danny Mendick adds one more at 6-0. Oh, that ball's crushed. Way out of here. Way out of here. Top row thunder. You'll win a World Band radio as that ball is absolutely demolished. Eloy Jimenez lets her rip and bring him home. 2-2. Oh, one more for the road. Bring him home again. It's still bouncing around. Jose to right field. Well struck, very well struck, and out of here. Bring him home for the lead, top 6.
Bounce it, it's 0-2.
Oh, it hung. Jose in the air, left field, way back. Bring him home again. Look out, Maglio. A cement mixer to beat all cement mixers, and it's 5-2. 0-2. Jose in the air left field. One more time, bring him home.
Well, we told you back in the 6th inning that Jose sometimes takes it into his own hands.
Yasmani in the air center field. Happ is back. He's at the track, at the wall. Gone! A little extra from Yaz tonight. And 6-3, the Sox lead. Jose in the air. Way back! Oh my goodness! Batman Jose is at it again, and Darvish can only laugh. This is outrageous! Jose in the air. Way back! Oh my goodness! Batman Jose is at it again, and Darvish can only laugh. This is outrageous!
Ladies and gentlemen, it's outrageous! Twice. Unbelievable! Ladies and gentlemen! Is there a chiropractor in the house? Is there a chiropractor in the house? Because the Coast pitching staff, they need some work this weekend after what the Chicago White Sox and Jose Abreu was able to do to them over on the north side at the friendly confines. Weren't so friendly this weekend, although it was a little bit friendlier today on this Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, those highlights courtesy of NBC Sports Chicago. Jason Benetti and Steve Stone on the call. A barrage of home runs on the north side from the bats of the new, modernized Chicago White Sox, the Hitmen, a Southside Hitmen. Boy, they were unleashing and they were unloading. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. We're broadcasting, streaming live from the world's famous WCPT 820 AM studios in the beautiful, beautiful city of Chicago, in a great neighborhood of Jefferson Park. This is another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, and we are joined by the marvelous one, ladies and gentlemen. You love him. He wasn't at Wrigley. He wasn't in the stands. He wasn't on the rooftop. He did not have a net in the stands. He did not have a. I gotta ask you about this one, ladies and gentlemen. He's in the studios of WCPT 820 AM. What's up, marvelous? How are you?
You were trying to sound like Dr. Seuss there for a minute.
What does that mean?
You know, Sam, I am. In any event, Abreu. Forget about Hitman. It was like Murderers Row at the New York Yankees in 1927.
Oh, my goodness.
It looked like batting practice or home run derby. Yeah. But, I will say one thing. I thought I'd come out of a slumber today, and it was Memorial Day. You had the Indianapolis 500. You had the advanced rounds of the NHL and the NBA, and the Cubs and the Sox. So I thought that I'd come out from a bad dream. At least I was hoping I had.
What was the bad dream?
The bad dream was the last 4 months.
Oh, jeez. I thought from a Cub fan's perspective, it was the last couple of days.
Yeah, well, they salvaged one. Somehow it looked like it was going to be the same old thing after Abreu got his 4th straight at-bat home run.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
unbelievable. Jose Abreu was just—it was a fight at the bat, right?
Yeah, but I will say this: I'll give the NHL and the NBA credit. They haven't had COVID-19 cases, unlike baseball. Now I'm worried about football with the 9 false cases with the Bears.
Yeah,
so, I don't think that's going to go so well.
No, well, it's going to be interesting to see, and we haven't even, we're still trying to figure out what's going to happen on the collegiate ranks. The 25 parents representing the Big Ten student athletes were in town on Friday here at the Big Ten offices to petition and campaign and protest, the decision not to play fall sports and moving everything to the spring. There were representatives from the Ohio State Buckeyes, of course, the University of Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, but all in all, it's 25 parents that were out there picketing and saying, hey, or protesting or whatever the case may be, and saying, you know what, we don't like the decision that was made, but unfortunately, I think it's signed, sealed, and delivered, Marvelous.
It'll be interesting to see if they can do it in the spring even,
Exactly. But one thing I wanted to ask you, folks, this is the fastest hour in sports conversation. Want you to be a part of it. Our number, 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. I want to ask you, great job by the Marquee Network. I had the picture-in-picture on in the Hall of Fame room at home, and I had the Marquee Network on one screen, and of course I had NBC Sports Chicago on the other screen, and it was great to see the transition from both sides of town and the broadcast from both sides of town. But I got to ask you, I think it was Marquee Network that showed the They showed, I think, after Schwarber's home run,
rooftop.
They showed the rooftop, and they showed a young lady. Help me out here, Marvelous.
Correct.
Help me out with this one, Marvelous.
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind on this one. The lady's on the rooftop
with a net, right?
And with a net, like Harry Carey used to have at the old Comiskey Park.
Yeah, I mean,
why does she have a net
to catch the home run, which would be 800 feet?
Kyle Schwarber?
Make believe 800-foot home run, right?
Now, I gotta say, Jose Abreu jacked one out today. Was 449 feet?
Yeah.
And then who was it? Eloy, who hit one? It was yesterday, 468 feet or something like that.
And those didn't even leave the park. I mean, so I can only imagine what. I think it was just symbolic. I don't think she was expecting to catch a ball.
Are you sure? Because she looked like she hit that net up really, really high, expecting for the ball to come her way. But here's the other one. And I love you Cub fans, I certainly do. And I love my White Sox fans, I certainly do. But over at the friendly confines, the rooftop, we understand that the fans aren't allowed in the stands right now because we want to make sure everybody's protected, safe, and sound. But during the 7th inning stretch, they had a shot of the rooftop. And there were 2 young ladies up on the rooftop, Marvelous. Yeah. They had their phone, like I got my phone here.
Yeah.
They were either taking a picture or videotaping the field.
Yeah.
I'm like, why?
Oh.
Why?
Why not?
They're Marvelous.
Yes.
They're on the rooftop.
I know.
Across the street.
Well, it's for their memory book.
What are they shooting? What are they trying to? What are they showing? What are they trying to get?
Sending it to their friends. I don't know.
Listen,
Instagram.
These cameras are fantastic. Yeah. The cameras on these smartphones are fantastic. They certainly are. But Marvelous. Yeah. When I try to zoom in on my phone to get a close-up shot, I got to be close up to get a close up.
I'll tell you.
What are they trying to get a close up on?
I know the rooftop is probably like a seat at Dodger Stadium, to be honest with you, in the 5th deck. So I mean, it's not that ridiculous.
It's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. We're having fun, and we want you to have fun. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation, the most fun you're gonna have all week. There's no question about it. You listen to this show, you can be a part of this show. It's the most fun you're gonna have all week, and we certainly want you to be a part of it. Again, our number is 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. And, there are a couple things on the item, but we definitely certainly want to talk about this series regarding the Cubs and the White Sox. Now, last week, Marvelous, when we last had our session, it was the White Sox that hit 4 consecutive home runs. But this was coming after the fact that they got swept in a doubleheader by the St. Louis Cardinals. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't a happy camper then.
No, but they starting Sunday of last week, they haven't lost the game till today.
Unbelievable. They were Jackmaster Funk. But my tirade last year, my mini rep last week against Ricky Rennery, I said, hey, Ricky, the only thing, and I'm disappointed in him as well because, again, Jose Abreu leads off the game with a home run. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. No one can believe it. Whether you're listening on radio, whether you're listening on television, no one can believe this guy cranked out another home run, and you, Darvish, is like, damn. But the only thing that this guy, Ricky Renneria, needs to do, I told you, he just gets his lineup card, just fills it out, 1 through 9, turn it in to the umpire and say, that's my lineup, and then kick back, put his hands behind his head, kick his legs up in the dugout and say, boys, go to work. If they have a slump like they did today, Marvelous, only thing he has to do is say, hey, guy, wait a minute. It's the 5th inning here. We're losing. Something's going on here. What's happening? You guys asleep? Wake them up and get them going.
In all fairness, don't all managers make up a lineup? I mean, why is he so incompetent?
Have you not been watching the games?
I do, yeah.
Have you been watching the White Sox?
Well, I mean,
have you been watching this baseball team on the South Side?
So it's Renteria's fault that they lose, right?
Of course it is.
Okay, not the player.
No, not the players.
Okay.
Your job as a manager, in my opinion, is to motivate your team to get out there and perform the best they can consistently at a high level every single day. That's your job. When you don't see them performing at a high level consistently, it's called manager. You're managing their time. You're managing their performance. When you see that it's subpar, Marvelous, you approach them and say, listen.
Okay.
Luis Roberts. I know you went 0 for 4 today. You struck out. No, that's not what you're here for. This is what you're here for. Hit the damn ball, and then you go up there and hit the damn ball. That's what his job is.
Okay, so you want to replace him? It's too late for Joe Girardi, but go ahead. Maybe there's somebody better.
Well, there's nobody better, right? Well, I mean, there are a bunch of people who are better right now, but unfortunately, the White Sox, they put all this together and they put, they put them in place to get them from point A to point B, and we've seen that happen here in the greatest city in the world, Chicago. There's no question about it. This guy has seen a lot happen in this great town as well, and we're pleased to welcome him on our TR60 hotline, and we're pleased to call him a friend of the program, and he just got off the set over there at NBC Sports Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen, you love him. He's phenomenal. He's fabulous, and he is half of the new morning team at ESPN Radio AM 1000 in the greatest city in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, on our TR60 hotline, the one, the only, he's David Kaplan. What's up, Cap Man? How are you?
My guy, JR, Jerry Riles. What's going on, kid? I'm literally just getting into my car. Just got done doing baseball night in Chicago, and honored to be on your show again.
Well, you know what, Cap? It's always a pleasure, and it's always an honor to get you for a couple of minutes, because you certainly are the hardest man working in Chicago, the hardest working man in Chicago, whether it's radio, whether it's television, whether it's doing appearances, or whether it's just spending family time. The Cap Man is the hardest working man in Chicago sports, brother. Hey, what a weekend as far as baseball is concerned regarding this great city we live in, the Crosstown Classic. Not what we were anticipating at the start of the year and the start of the baseball season, but in this condensed 60-game season that we're experiencing and watching these two teams finally come together, brother. What was your thoughts watching this series and the Chicago White Sox just hammer things out?
Well, look, this is a really talented White Sox team, and I don't think anyone's surprised that after these, years of rebuilding, that Rick Hahn, a really intelligent baseball man, has been able to accumulate a number of really impressive assets. But I also don't think anybody saw the White Sox hitting like 4 billion home runs in a 3-game series. Jose Abreu was amazing. I mean, amazing in capital letters. He just was torturing Cubs pitching. But the thing that was most disappointing to me about the weekend, not that my Cubs lost 2 of 3, because that can happen, it's the fact that their offense looks impotent. I mean, Kyle Schwarber bails him out with a 2-run home run after a Javi Baez double. But beyond that, the offense has not looked good for a while. Very spotty, very up and down. Same thing we saw in 2018, the last half, 2019 up and down. So at some point, do you look at this team and go, maybe 2016 was the outlier? Because for the last 2.5 seasons, we have not seen great offensive play from guys who look like great offensive players.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's interesting because I'm watching, I mentioned before you got on the air, I'm watching, in the Hall of Fame room. I got it on NBC Sports Chicago, of course, your home, but I'm also watching on the Marquee Network. So I'm getting both perspective from either side of town. And it's interesting because you talk about the lackluster non-performance of the Cubs offensively. My wife and I sitting there watching this thing, and she's a diehard Cub fan just like you are, Cap Man. She asked the same thing. What the hell is wrong with Javi Baez? What's wrong with him, man? And this is the guy that you, over the past few years, you definitely were looking forward to seeing him jumpstart the offense if they got into some type of rut. He, along with Wilson Contreras, but what the heck is going on with Javi Baez? It seems like, between his 2 ears, man, that there's a little bit of fog going there, and that's something that's uncharacteristic when you talk about Javi.
Yeah, I think, Jerry, the biggest problem that Javi has had so far this year is his confidence is a little shaken because he struggled, and that has led to him expanding his strike zone. Expand your strike zone, all of a sudden you're trying to hit a 4-run home run with nobody on base. And so he chases breaking balls. He sees something coming in, and it dives literally 8-10 inches off the plate, and he has no chance of hitting it with a bow door, and he swings at it. So he's just out of sorts right now. He needs to continue to string good plate appearances together, get hard contact. You know, the pitch that Dylan Cease made them when he gave up the double, that was just a mistake. Why you are throwing Javi something middle in where he can get the head of the bat on it with that incredible bat speed, and he drives it into the left field vines for a double, and then the pitch to Kyle Schwarber, that was just a really good piece of hitting, and a pitch again that was up, out over the plate, and allowed him to get his hands active, and he takes it out of the ballpark. So that was a tiring Dylan Cease. And sometimes you can watch and go, what do you mean tiring? He's still throwing 97.
Right.
It's not so much muscling up and getting velocity, it's command and location. And that was why the Cubs were able to come back and win that game.
You know, Dave, this is Dan here in the studio. You're absolutely right. I mean, right now, yeah, I mean, of course, Chris Bryant's out, but they have Baez, Schwarber, Contreras, Bodie, and Horner are all hitting under 200, and that's no good. So obviously, the offense is a problem, and they've even the bullpen. They tried Kimbrel today, and he couldn't finish the game, and they had to bring in Jeffers. So they have a lot of issues, but they're still in first place. So, and there's going to be so many teams in the playoffs, they'll probably still make the playoffs anyway.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, they're a first-place baseball team. They're 3 games in front in the division, and they're going to play a really lousy Tigers team. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to win, but, you know, the Tigers just pounded Cleveland on Sunday. So there's major league players on that roster, and the Cubs have to find a way to get up on Monday and find a way to win a baseball game. That's what I always like to say. Lou Piniella taught me that a long time ago. He said, son, you're not going to have 11 runs every day. You're not going to throw a 2-hitter every day. Wake up, get moving, get some breakfast, get to the ballpark, and find a way to win a damn baseball game. So that's where the Cubs are at. Right now, everything looks like a beach ball to the White Sox. So both teams are in different places. Sox are battling. I think they're 2 games back in their division. The Cubs are 3 up in their division. But the Cubs don't have a Twins or Indians in their division that they've got to deal with. So they're in a better place to try to ride out some of these hiccups.
Yeah, I think the White Sox are 1 game behind in the Central going into this game against the Cubs this afternoon. I think the Indians were losing. So, you know, we still got some baseball left, man, but we're getting close to the finish line. And albeit it's only 60 games in this shortened season due to the pandemic, Capper, but if everything goes accordingly and we can, you know, get past this second wave as they've been talking about over the past few months, wouldn't it be beautiful? Wouldn't it be beautiful to see a crosstown series between the Cubbies and the White Sox battling it out? I mean, it's only 60-game season, but it would be great to see our teams, both Chicago teams, battling for the title 2020. What do you think?
I think it'd be amazing. Look, we've had a rough year for the entire world because of the global pandemic. And then in our country, we've had a horrific first 7-8 months because of the murder of George Floyd. You add it all up, the protests and the riots and everything that's gone on, wouldn't it be fitting that we got a vaccine toward the end of the year, and in October we watched the Cubs and White Sox play in the World Series, and the Bears had a really, really good season, and whoever the quarterback is played really well, and the Bears made a deep playoff run? It would be a great way to finish what has been a first 8 months of really tough stuff for our great city.
Yeah, that would be fantastic if we can get to that mark. And I know that there are a lot of folks around the Chicagoland area and around this country who are certainly, you know, pushing for a vaccine and pushing to hopefully get back to some sort of normalcy. But it's great to get an opportunity to sit down, whether you're in your Hall of Fame room, such as I am, or you're in your living room, or you're in your deck or whatever, and you get to turn on the tube and you get to watch some sports. You know, it's not the way we're used to and accustomed to watching it, but the fact that we actually get an opportunity to sit down and watch some sports is fantastic. It's interesting, real quick. You talk about the Bears. Capper, what? I know you have to go through the procedure. I know you have to go through the steps and everything, but are we wasting our time on this Mitchell Trubisky man? I know that's your guy, but are we wasting our time on this kid? I think he's already reached his ceiling, and there's nothing else left for him, brother.
Jerry, I'd like you to do me a favor. When
Yes,
we
sir.
get done and you get finished with your fine show, I want you to go online. I want you to bring up Drew Brees' numbers. Now, again, I'm not telling you Mitchell Trubisky is going to be Drew Brees. Drew Brees is going to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. But I would like you to look up Drew Brees' first 4 years when he played in San Diego and was nothing short of wildly up and down and had a passer rating 1 year in the high 60s, another in the 70s. And San Diego went, we're done with this guy. He's nothing. And they traded him, and he got his legs under him, and all of a sudden he got with a coach that helped get the best out of him in Sean Payton. And guess what? Drew Brees became a really good player. So let's let this thing play out. I do not believe Mitchell Trubisky has reached his ceiling. I couldn't more vehemently disagree with you. Let's see how camp plays out. If it's Nick Foles, I'll cheer my you-know-what off for Nick Foles because all I care about is that our Bears win.
Right.
But if it's Mitchell Trubisky, I don't want to hear all the haters in Chicago. What are we doing? He's only playing because Ryan Pace picked him. Look, just let the best guy win the job, stay healthy, and find a way to win some damn football games.
No, you're absolutely right, Captain. And let the best man win the job. And I'm telling you, Nick Foles is the best man for the job. But here, and listen, I'm glad that you brought up the numbers as far as Drew Brees is concerned. And I mean, you and I have been around the block a couple of times, and I remember Drew Brees, his college days playing at Purdue in the Big Ten, and I know his woes that happened when he got into the league to the next level, and we see, what's happened, since that time. But let's bring it to a little bit more up to date, up to speed. You know the guy that won the Super Bowl, right? The MVP. That guy with Kansas City, right? He just signed that big whopping deal. Amazing deal, right? Patrick Mahomes, right? Right?
Uh-huh.
Here's Cap. I know you're sitting down, and I know it was a stunner when you first heard this guy say this. About maybe 2 or 3 weeks after winning the Super Bowl, which was a phenomenal game, and he led his team back from behind for victory. But here's the scary thing: this guy said on a radio show, Patrick Mahomes, he said, "Hey, you know what?" He said, "I didn't really start to understand, and I'm still kind of trying to understand." How to read defenses until the 8th or 9th week of this past season. What? I really didn't understand or really start to learn how to read NFL defenses until the 8th or 9th week of this past season that they won the Super Bowl. Our guy, the guy that you love that said, hey, our guy, he still can't, you probably can read NFL defenses better than that guy that we got called Mitchell Trubisky. And I love Trubisky, but he's not an NFL quarterback, brother. He's not. And so it's scary that if Patrick Mahomes said he's just learning how far behind is Mitchell Trubisky in learning how to read NFL defenses?
We're going to find out, Jerry. Look, he spent the entire offseason really trying to learn his craft. He's got wonderful athleticism. He's got a good, strong arm. He's got an amazing work ethic, and his teammates love him. I've talked to multiple guys up there, and they've all said, dude, you guys have no idea what a good leader he is in our room, his work ethic. He's there at 5 a.m., and he doesn't leave till 8 p.m., and he eats dinner here and goes home, gets some sleep, gets up, and let's crank it up again. He said, I'm just telling you. And if you heard Ted Ginn said, I signed here, and I think I'm going to be playing with Mitchell Trubisky. And a number of other guys have come out and said, Mitch is a different player. Cordero Patterson the other day. Y'all have no idea what you're talking about. He's a completely different quarterback now. So let's let this play out. Let's see how it works out, and let's not write the epitaph just yet, because everyone thinks that Nick Foles is like Tom Brady at age 25. He's been handed the keys to 3 teams. 3. Philly, St. Louis, and Jacksonville. And how did that work out? All 3 said, yeah, see you later. He's a good relief pitcher.
God bless you, Cap.
Maybe there is some history repeating itself. In San Diego, when he first got there, Brees was battling with Doug Flutie for the job for a couple of years until they drafted Rivers. So maybe that will happen here, and he'll have a better career somewhere else someday. But we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Certainly, Cap. We appreciate your time. Real quick, we got to transition, and we got to talk about the other side of sports as far as there are great stories regarding the players on the field and off the field. but there are also some disappointing stories and some sad stories, not only on the field and off the field, but this past week, we've seen it happen and heard it happen in the broadcast booth. Now, you've done several games over your illustrious career. I've done some play-by-play basketball over my career. It's a very demanding job and a very difficult task, but you master your craft and you excel at it. And we're all human, as they say. That's the phrase that is always used when you talk about sports and athletics. But we understand, and most of us understand. All of us should understand when you get behind the mic or you get in front of that camera, it's showtime, and you put your best foot forward. And what we used to do back at the old shop that I was at, we say, hey, whatever problems you have, whatever woes you have, everyone has them. But what you need to do is leave that at the door when you come to work. No one wants to hear about whatever's going on. We'll listen to you, we'll sit with you, we'll help you, but when you cross that line, when you come through that door, it's time to get to work. Roll up your sleeves and let's get going, buddy. And it's unfortunate this past week, there were three of our brethren in the industry of broadcasting, play-by-play, color commentator, or whatever the case may be, that unfortunately put their foot in their mouths, whether it's Tom Brenneman regarding the statement that he made, whether it's Mark Grace with what he said, and of course the radio announcer for the Charlotte Hornet, what he sent out in a tweet, all in 1 week. What was your thoughts and your reaction when you heard about everything that that happened this past week with those three gentlemen?
Well, I'm not going to go into each different one. I'll tell you this, that social media is a great thing for promoting what we do, for trying to have some fun with people, but it's also a wildly dangerous place. And I have tried to preach this to my 4 boys who are age 26 to 30, that if you say something on social media, it will follow you forever. If you think it won't, just go back and do a little research, whether you're Josh Hader or whoever. So social media can be a great thing. It can also be the death of a career. When you walk into a studio and you have a microphone around you, I don't care if the on-air light says not on air. The light may be burned out. You may have an engineer who for some reason doesn't like you, and that engineer says, I'm going to get this guy. And guess what? Whatever you said might end up becoming part of the public record. When you go on Twitter, as you mentioned the Hornets announcer, he could say that it was a mistake in a keyboard, it was an autocorrect, whatever it is. You better triple check what you're saying. And when someone comes at you on Twitter, and this was something I had to learn, but when someone comes at me on Twitter now, I have fun with them. I go right back at them and, hey, man, thanks for listening. Really appreciate you. Find it funny that you hate me so much and you still follow. Take that. And I put a smiley face or whatever it is. I have a good time with it. But there are times that I had typed a tweet and my wife looked and went, you can't send that. You can't go back at them like that. And then I looked and she said to me, that guy has 4 followers. You're letting someone with 4 followers out of his basement get you all triggered? Are you out of your mind? And when she put it that way, it made a lot of sense. So I've been, very good about self-policing.
Yeah.
But when I go into a studio and there's a microphone there, I learned a long time ago, never say anything around a mic, whether it's on or off, that you wouldn't feel comfortable saying into the mic if you knew it was on.
Exactly.
So I love Tom Brenneman. I was at Tom's wedding. Tom's a friend of mine, and he's a really, really good person. He is. But you can't say what he said. You can't. And that was surprising. I'm not as close to Tom Brenneman as you are. I've certainly met him, of course, when he was working here in the great city of Chicago, doing Cub games, and I've seen him over the years. But I was really, really surprised, to be honest with you, Cap. I was really surprised. This guy is he's a legend. There's no question about it.
and he is a veteran, and he's very well experienced as far as what we do at the level that he does it. I was really, really surprised that he put himself in that position, because as you stated, when you're around a mic, you watch what you say.
And his father's a legend too, by the way.
Yeah. But I was really, really shocked and surprised that Tommy Brenneman said whatever he said around the mic, knowing that what you know and what I know, that the chances are this thing could be leaked or it could be open. And unfortunately, whether it's a director or producer or whoever was running the shop there, that mic was open, and he got a countdown, I'd imagine, and he just went on and just continued to go. But I was really shocked and surprised that he even said something like that in the line of work.
Look, Jerry, you not only can you not say that, you shouldn't think that. We should be in a more inclusive society. Unfortunately, we're in a really divided place as a society right now. We've got to be better at unity. That's like my big word this year, unity. I don't talk politics on my show. I don't talk about the president, good, bad, indifferent, whatever it is. I like to be inclusive on everybody. Everyone's got a right to live a happy life. And if that means they support that candidate or that lifestyle, God bless them. Just don't infringe on my ability to live my lifestyle. So, again, you've got to be smarter than that when there's a microphone around. But we've got to change the mindset that would have made that word something that someone used freely. And again, I know Tom is a man. He's a wonderful father. He's been married a long time. He's a good person. He made a horrible mistake.
Yeah, it's a shame, and he is definitely one of the good guys. There's no question about it. Unfortunately, he said something that offended and hurt a lot of people, and he will never ever live that down. And it's just, you're absolutely right, Cap. I think at the end of the day, man, we're all the same, and we need to treat each other as the same, and it's about taking care of yourself and taking care of your fellow brother, your fellow man, your fellow sister, and have the respect for one another. Because at the end of the day, man, we got to face whatever supreme being we look up to or worship or call our God and our Lord and Savior. We got to answer one day, sooner or later. And, you want to be on the right side. There's no question about it. And, Capman, you are definitely always on the right side. And I wish more people would take the positive attitude and the positive lifestyle that you exemplify and you show every single day, whether you're on the morning show or whether you're doing your evening show. Giving Chicago sports. We love you and thank you so very much. And congratulations to you and my buddy Jay Hood on the morning show at ESPN AM 1000. We appreciate you certainly taking time out to join us on this Sunday, brother.
Dude, any time for you. You know I'm a huge fan of yours, Jerry Riles. So keep killing it, and anytime you need me, you know how to get me.
God bless you, man. I love you. You and the family. Take care. And great pictures, man. It was great to see you out there fishing, traveling around the country, man. So keep up the good work on social media. You're much better than I am, man. And I learned a lesson from the great Herm Edwards. He tells his students, Arizona State out there on the West Coast. He said, hey, listen. He tells the young kids, because they're 18, 19, 20 years of age. He goes, hey, listen. I can't control you when you're not around me. He said, this social media thing, I don't know much about it. I know what it does and how it can hurt you and how it can help you. He said, but listen, when you get that, your smartphone device and they got 42 characters or whatever the case may be. He said, hey, you're going to type something up and you're going to put the characters out there and you want to send it out. He goes, what I want you to do for me, put your smartphone down, walk away from it for about 5 to 10 minutes, then come back and look at what you just typed out. He said, if it still makes sense to you and you think it's okay, he said, then you can send it out. He said, but until you do that, don't do it, because what you think you're sending out is okay, like you said, it stays out there forever. So that's the advice that I use from the great Herm Edwards, man. And it seems like you do the same thing.
Yep, absolutely agree with you. Hey, man, you're the best.
You're the best. Take care, David Kaplan. We love you, brother.
Love you.
He's the man. Ladies and gentlemen, David Kaplan on our TR60 hotline. Yeah. He's phenomenal.
You know who didn't follow that rule today? Did you see about Bruce Levine? Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. He had apologized for the picture that was sent today. He's with the Score and the Marquee Sports Network.
What did he do?
He had some kind of a political picture where he had a photoshopped image of the president and derogatory reference to Biden and Clinton. So so he got political, and he had apologized for that.
Yeah, you can't do it. You just can't do it. Whatever the case may be, you can't do it. But what you can do is take a break. Come on right back. It is the fastest hour in sports conversation. It is the Rewind Sports 60. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, along with the marvelous one, Dan Marver. He's chomping at the bit to give you a live read. We'll give it to you on the other side of this break. Ladies and gentlemen, keep it locked in. It is the Rewind Sports 60.
You're watching the Rewind Sports 60. Go Bucks! Woo!
It's the end of the quarter. Time for a break in the action. The hottest sports panel in Chicago will get back to the fast-paced action, streaming live on Facebook Live. We're back at it after this quick timeout. So don't you dare touch that iPhone, Android, iPad, Mac, or PC. Lock it in.
Relax, reset, rejuvenate. Go to our link right now to restart your life. TheRewindSports60.com. What are you waiting for? Hope to see you soon. The Rewind Sports 60.
Rewind Sports 60. If it's Chicago sports you want, you're in the right place.
Hello, Chicago!
The Rewind Sports 60.
That's the best in the city of Chicago.
Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60 live with the best sports panel in Chicago. Lock it in.
My ex-wife, God rest her soul. She's not dead. I just wish God would rest her soul. What the hell was her name again? Oh yeah, Plaintiff. She used to have these terrible mood swings, and you know what I did one time? I bought her a mood ring. It was kind of interesting. Whenever she was in a good mood, the stone would turn green. When she was in a bad mood, it would leave a big red mark on my forehead. If a doctor ever told me I had 6 months to live, I'd want my ex-wife to come back and be with me, because it'd be the longest 6 months I've had. Have you gone through a divorce? You have to have a sense of humor. I was in court the other day. The judge said to me, I'm going to give your wife $3,000 a month. I said, that's fine, Your Honor, and from time to time, I'll try to give her a few bucks myself.
This portion of the Rewind Sports 60 is sponsored by Serenello's Ristorante Italiano in Wheeling. As part of our ongoing effort to slow the community transmission of COVID-19, Serenello's is now open to provide dine-in service, delivery, and carry-out options too. Come back to us or let us come to you. Get your favorite dishes delivered in a flash. Curbside menu, carry-out menus, order delivery. Give Serenello's a call today at 847-777-6878. Serenello's is located at 601 North Milwaukee Avenue in Wheeling. Tell Chef Michael Bonner and his team, the Rewind Sports 60, encourage you to support local by dining in or ordering online. Remember to stay safe and perfect social distancing.
I'm still standing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the fastest hour in sports radio. This is the Rewind Sports 60 on WCPT 820 AM in the beautiful, beautiful city of Chicago, in the one of the great towns, one of the great neighborhoods of the beautiful city of Chicago. Now, of course, Jefferson Park on the north side. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, along with the marvelous one, Dan Marver. And ladies and gentlemen, the hits just keep coming from one hit to the other. It is the fastest hour in sports conversation. If you miss any portion of it, make sure you check us out on Facebook Live and, of course, our YouTube page. Hey, and on Comcast on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, Channel 17, Channel 19, Channel 35 in the northern suburbs. We're pleased to welcome on our TR60 hotline. He is also a friend of the program, and my apologies. I was hoping to get to him a lot sooner, but, you know, it's only so much you can cram into this 60-minute bag that we have, but we're pleased to welcome on our TR60 hotline a friend of the program, longtime Chicago native. He is the legendary comedian, entertainer, Mr. Tom Dreesen. Tommy, how are you?
I'm doing fine. No, you saying this because you saved the best for last? Is that why you put me on at the end here?
No. It's not why we put you on in the end, but you certainly are the best. No question about it. And we are honored, privileged, and pleased to have you join us on the fastest hour in sports conversation, Mr. Dreesen. How's everything going?
Everything is great. How about you guys?
We're hanging in there, man. I know
the Cubs won today, so I'm happy.
Yeah, they won, but
barely.
By the skin of their teeth after what the Southsiders were able to do to them on Friday and Saturday night, including one Jose Abreu. What did you think of his performance? I mean, I think the Cubs pitching staff, Kyle Hendricks and Lester, I think they have to see their chiropractor because of the whiplash, all the homers just flying out of Wrigley Field. What did you think of the performance of Jose Abreu this past weekend?
Why they pitched to him, I'll never know. Why do they pitch to him?
Yeah.
You know, I keep screaming, walk him. You know,
if Madden was still there, he walked Harper a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Cub fans were wondering the same thing. Why are you pitching to this guy? But you know what? I chalk the White Sox up, this 2020 version of the White Sox, as the modern day Southside hitman, the marvelous one, Dan Marver. He called them Murderer's Row from the New York Yankees. Yeah. Their bats came alive, and they just went nuts. It was unbelievable. It was like batting practice, Tom.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm really disappointed in baseball a lot today because it's not the baseball that I grew up with and love to watch. The moving the runner over, bunting, hit and run, that is gone out of baseball. It's all big ball now. Everybody swings for the fences. And I asked Joe Madden when he was with the Cubs that at a golf tournament of his, and all, you guys might have even been there that day, but I asked, is it gone from baseball? And he said, yes. It's gone from baseball. The computers and all the other things, it's all big ball now. And you know, they don't care if you strike out 100 times, 150 times a year if you can hit 30 home runs, you know.
You know, Tom, this is Dan in the studio. A lot of things have changed, particularly with the pandemic here. You got universal designated hitter, extra innings with runners starting at second base, and double headers of 7 innings. But much more importantly, I know that Jerry was singing the Elton John song. Do I hear that the book came out in June, Still Standing, My Journey from Streets and Saloons to the Stage in Sinatra?
Yes, it just came out about a month ago, and it's doing really, really good. And I mean, I didn't come on this show to push my book, but then I'm lying. I did come on this but there's a chapter in there, chapter 41, all about my love of sports and, of course, my love of the Cubs and what it's gotten to me and some funny things that happened in the years that I was a Cub fan and when I was a bad boy, you know, as a grown man. And so I'm getting a lot of response from Chicago people about that. But the book is really basically about me growing up in Harvey, Illinois, 8 brothers and sisters living in a shack. We had no bathtub, no shower, no hot water. raggedy poor, and I would shine shoes in all the taverns in Harvey, and trying to get money to help feed my brothers and sisters. And while I was shining shoes, Frank Sinatra was on the jukebox. You know, that's where I first heard him at 8 years old. And so the book takes you from that 8-year-old boy hearing Sinatra on a jukebox in Harvey, Illinois, to one day carrying his coffin out of a church in Beverly Hills, California. So it takes you on that journey.
Yeah, you were also you were also way ahead of your time with the Tim and Tom biracial comedy duo. You were the first group like that.
Yeah, we were America's first black and white. That's how we got in the show business. We were America's first black and white comedy team. In history shows, we were the last. And, you know, we paid dues that no one had to pay. There were no comedy clubs in those days. So we worked all black clubs in the North and the South, and we worked all white clubs in the North and the South, and just paid dues. But we went everywhere there was racial tension. We would go perform in colleges and high schools. We didn't preach. We just tried to make people laugh. We did 11 prisons in 1 year. We did the county jail in Chicago 3 times in 1 year. We, just anywhere there was racial tension, we went and just tried to make people laugh. And it was an experience that it's in the book too.
Yeah. We could use that. We could use that today.
And you're talking about the great Tim Reed, and some of our listeners who may know him from WKRP in Cincinnati. He was Venus Flytrap, but it was Tim and Tom, and you were the first, black and white comedy team, and you guys are phenomenal. But can you share the story of how you two came about to become this comedy team back during that time?
Yeah, I had no thought of ever being in show business, nor did Tim. When I came out of the service, I went back to Harvey, and I married, got kids, and I ended up joining a civic group called the JCs, and they attacked the problems of the community. So I wrote a drug education program teaching grade school children the ills of drug abuse with humor, a concept I had. They weren't teaching drug education in those days at a college or a high school level, let alone at an elementary school level. And so helping me with the project was this young man, Tim Reed, had just graduated from Norfolk State College, and E.I. DuPont recruited him into Chicago. And so we went into the school system, and we got the kids laughing. We used to play off of one another, getting the kids laughing, and then we'd plant the seeds of the ills of drug abuse. One day, a little 8th grade girl said, "You guys are so funny. You ought to become a comedy team." And the thought of a black-white comedy team intrigued us, so, we started paying the dues. We went out there, and there were no comedy clubs, like I say, in those days, so, we'd go on jazz clubs on the south side of Chicago, and after the jazz group would take a break, Sonny Stitt or Gene Ammons or Eddie Harris or those kind of groups, they'd take a break. We'd get up and do 10, 15 minutes and, and bomb, and then and then get it tight, and then bomb again, and then till we finally got an act going real good,
Tom, and we're on with the great actor, comedian, entertainer, with his book, Still Standing, My Journey from Streets and Saloons to the Stage and Sinatra. He is Tom Dreesen. It's interesting that you talk about, how you got started and the fact that you would bomb, but you would bounce back, and you would bomb, you would bounce back. Today's generation is certainly different from, back when you were a young lad, and of course myself and a marvelous one. What lessons did you learn over time that you think certainly has kept you relevant in 2020, and that could help the younger generation out there? Because right now it seems as if we look for instant gratification, whether it's through social media or what have you. But as you well know, it's all about the grind, and it's all about honing your skills and mastering your craft. What sort of message do you want to share in the book and convey to the young folks what they need to do to have the longevity and the success that a Tom Dreesen has?
Well, first of all, never underestimate failure. It's a blessing. It's a blessing, failure. And you look at it's all of life is about perception. You look upon it as how you perceive life. And every time I failed, I've learned something from it and stepped back up again. Every time I got knocked down, I got myself back up again. And I wasn't going to let anyone step on my dream. I had a dream that I wanted to become a comedian that was made a living off of making people laugh, and I wasn't going to let anybody get in the way of that. A book by W. Clement Stone once said, if you know what you want to do in life, and if it's a noble endeavor, search your life and see if there's anything in your life that can deter you from that noble achievement, and then get it out. Man, woman, or beast. And one time I thought the only thing that could stop me from becoming a success is drinking, because I love to drink beer with the guys and hang out in the bars till late at night. But I realized that would get in the way of my success, and I got it out of my life. You know, and just never give up. Bertrand Russell once said, there are people in show business who become major stars simply because they didn't have sense enough to quit when they should have. And that's my mantra. I should have quit I don't know how many times, but I wouldn't give up my dream. And today all my dreams have come true.
Ned, you know what? You're a great inspiration. There's no question about it. And you've touched so many generations and so many people in your illustrious career. And it is phenomenal. It is phenomenal, Tom Dreesen, that you went from a 8-year-old kid in Harvey, Illinois, shining shoes, to having a fabulous career with the man that we all truly love and certainly miss, and that, of course, in Frank Sinatra. That's a phenomenal story. And, of course, the book, I'm sure, again, still standing. So many folks need to rush out and get it, Tom. Where can they find it if they're ready to chomp at the bit?
Amazon.
Amazon.com. They'll have it to your house in 2 days. Amazon.com. They're real good at that, you know.
They are very good at that. There's no question about it. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation, Tom Dreesen. My apologies. We're going to have you back. We're going to have you back next week. We're going to give you a full half hour to just talk shop with you. And hopefully the Cubs will be back to their old ways of winning and hitting the stick, and Javi Baez will be doing some damage as well. But thank you so very much for taking some time out on this Sunday here in Chicago. The rain, the hail, the sleet, whatever the case may be, it's coming down. But we want to say thank you. God bless you. Good luck with the book. We'll talk more about it next week if you got some time. And we really, really appreciate you.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Jerry. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so very much. Tom Dreesen on our TR60 hotline, the fastest hour in sports conversation. Anything before we go in 10 seconds?
Yeah, it was amazing. Today would have been Kobe Bryant's 42nd birthday, if you can believe that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Think about this 2020, how it started with the tragic loss of Kobe and his young daughter, Gigi, and now what we're living through. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation. Thanks to Dan Marver. Thanks to our producer, Devin Tingle. Lauren Cox is on assignment. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the week. Be safe. Happy birthday to yours truly, Tuesday. And, of course, Comcast. Our show, Comcast, Wednesday, 7 o'clock, Channel 17, Channel 19, Channel 35. Take care, everybody.
Rewind Sports 60.
Relax. Reset. Rejuvenate. Go to our link right now to restart your life. TheRewindSports60.com. What are you waiting for? Hope to see you soon. The Rewind Sports 60.
Me out to the ball game, Hall of Famer Andre Dawson.
All right. Let's hear it from the greatest fans ever. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back for its root. Root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3. 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Hey!
Get some runs!
Thank you.
Still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the
Welcome, everyone, back to another edition of the Sports Medicine Update, your weekly podcast with yours truly, Jerry Riles, and, of course, the Honorable Dr. Chad Padromas. Doc, how are you?
I'm terrific, Jerry. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. As you can tell, I'm enjoying the beautiful weather here in the Chicagoland area, sitting out on the deck, soaking up the sun, and just looking forward to learning a little bit more about sports medicine, how to overcome any type of injuries, and if I get an injury, how I can survive and heal and get back to normalcy, Doc. So we're looking forward to getting sports. I mean, it's under our belts this weekend. The Cubs and Sox are getting it on. The rivalries, the crosstown classic, so to speak, is taking place here in Chicago. The Bears are getting ready, 3 weeks away from the first kickoff of the 2020 season. In the pandemic era, and of course the NBA, they're doing fantastic. The Blackhawks got knocked out of the National Hockey League regarding the playoffs, so we're limping home with our tail between our legs. But all in all, it's been fantastic in the world of sports. And as far as the amateurs are concerned, I know there are a lot of guys and gals out there on the golf course, on the links, hacking away and getting some activity in. There are guys on their driveways shooting basketball, and of course the kids on their skateboards, and all of that taking place. We're taking advantage of this beautiful weather that we're experiencing. But again, we don't want anyone to get hurt, but if they get hurt, they know right where to come, and that's of course the weekly podcast, the Sports Medicine Update with Dr. Chad Padromas. Doc, I want to talk with you real quickly as far as the national, as far as college football is concerned, and we talk about the student athletes, and they're not professionals. They are amateurs, although they make a heck of a lot of money for the NCAA and their respective schools. The Big Ten, along with the Pac-12 and the Ivy League, they say, hey, we're not going to be playing any fall sports due to the coronavirus, COVID-19, the pandemic. We want to play it safe. We want to be sound, and we want to be healthy to take care of our student athletes. Whoa, there are certain players, a few players in the Big Ten that say, not so fast, your chancellors, your presidents. Not so fast, commissioner of the Big Ten. We want to play. We've been doing everything in our power, everything we're expected to do as far as protocol is concerned. We want to be able to play. Got so much that Justin Fields, the quarterback of the Ohio State Buckeyes, 115 petition signatures to say we want to play. The parents even jumped in, Doc, and said, you know what? We're coming to Chicago. We're going to stand outside the offices of the Big Ten, and we're going to protest. We're going to commission the commissioner and say, we want a voice in this, say, we want to play this fall. What were your thoughts on all of that transpired?
You know, I was, I first of all, I admire the young gentleman from the Ohio State University, the quarterback, Justin. And I've come around a little, you know, more than anything, I think people should be in class. And I had said before, well, you know, if you have to sacrifice sports, give a little, take a little, so be it. But, you know, I heard Lou Holtz, who's very pro playing talk, and he brought out, and he's not the only one saying it, that for a lot of these guys, you know, maybe they're safer and better being in the football environment. It's not a bubble, but it's, you know, they're pretty self-contained than being in the environment they would otherwise be in. So I think it's okay. I think they probably should play more than anything. And the thing that I think bothers people more than anything else, whether it's medicine or sports or schools or work, is just having people listen to what you're saying. So you know, I think they're trying to have a voice. I hope. So the Big Ten said no, maybe a week ago, 10 days ago. And that, you know, and that followed on top of the Pac-12 and the Ivy League. But then the SEC and, you know, the ACC said yes. And I don't think there's any shame in the Big Ten, Big 12, you know, possibly changing. I'm not saying they necessarily should, but I would hate to see them continue to say no just to be, you know, just to be consistent in some fashion. And I think that there are people who are well-intended who have behaved a little dictatorially, not in the Big Ten, but I'm just saying in general. And I think the thing that drives people nuts, and then we'll often hide behind data and say, we're following the data, we're doing this. But then when you look at it, you know, I got to tell you, as one of the people creating this data, there's no uniformity, you know? So right. I think more than anything, I would like to see the Big Ten have a dialogue, be flexible. You know, I don't know, maybe. So as it happens in the Big Ten, most of the states in the Big Ten are opening high school football, but some of them in the fall, like Illinois, are not. You know, and so you could make an argument, well, should the college team be playing if not the state team? And, you know, maybe most of the teams play, not all of the teams. I would like to see them be flexible and do what they can to play, even if it's modified, even if it's limited. So I applaud the players and the parents, and I hope the Big Ten at least is willing to have a meaningful dialogue, reconsider their position if that's what it looks like should be done.
No, again, it's a fine line regarding, you know, health and what people are calling wealth. And a lot of these players, their futures are in jeopardy because many of the players, when you talk about an Ohio State, or you talk about an Alabama, or you talk about an LSU, or, you know, one of the top majors, there are many of those kids who, I mean, you know, they come out on the draft and they're expected to be high draft picks, which means they get an opportunity to go to the next level and, you know, cash in on a big payday, which can definitely change their lives and affect their families' lives for generations to come. And so they don't want something like this to jeopardize their future. And when you talk about a Justin Fields, who expected to be one of the top picks in the upcoming draft, for him, he's like, I want to be able to showcase my talents this fall and prepare for the next level as far as the NFL is concerned. If everything is pushed back to the spring, that simply will not benefit me and allow me the opportunity to raise my stock, so to speak, as far as the draft is concerned. Yet the Big Ten and the commissioner, the chancellors and presidents are saying, we understand that, but you're still a student first and then an athlete. And our job is to protect, and we promise this to your parents, to protect your well-being, your welfare. That means your health, and we don't want to jeopardize this based on the science, Doc. Well, you got the parents who are coming out from Ohio State, Iowa, even Illinois and Wisconsin that were protesting here in Chicago on the Friday at the Big Ten offices, saying, we trust what's going on at the respective universities. We trust what we're doing, and we trust our student athletes So we want the opportunity to play. You feel it's okay that, let's move forward as long as you got everything lined up and straight and narrow.
Yeah, and people make the argument. All right, they wouldn't be in a bubble like the NBA, but if they're on campus and they're in a dorm and everything's protected and everybody's tested, would the Big Ten then be saying that that's less safe than having them be out on their own? I mean, I don't think it is. I think it's probably more safe. So I've come around. For the ones that want to play, I'd like to see them be able to play.
Yeah, Doc, but here's the thing. We're talking about 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old young people. And to be on a college campus, you remember what it was like in the college days. I remember what it was like to be on the campus of the Ohio State University. 20-something-year-olds are going to be just that, 20-something-year-olds. And it's going to be very difficult. It's very difficult without a pandemic to police, these athletes and tell them what they can do and can't do. So under a pandemic and the restrictions, you're certainly going to, because you already have it happening on the professional ranks, you're going to have some players who are going to venture out and they're going to want to be, young men interacting with young women, and all it takes, and we've seen it, Doc, all it takes is one guy to go out to a party or, go out to a bar, bring it back, and expose it. We've seen universities already around the country who suffered or experienced, COVID-19 and had to shut down. That's a big risk to take, wouldn't you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you could argue that college football they're probably the most regimented athletes of any athletes, any place, really. High school, college, pro, basketball, football, baseball, whatever. So I think that your basic student in a frat house or in a dorm is far likelier to do that than these college athletes. I mean, it's pretty tightly controlled. They know that they're, causing their brother a problem if they do something. So, if it happens, it's not like it's the bubonic plague. I mean, if it happens, if a few people get infected, these are by and large young, healthy people who are going to be just fine. But I think college football players in a program with an athletic dome, with the coaches around, I think they are probably the least likely people to, engage in violative behavior of just about any people in their age range.
Yeah, but Doc, here's the flip side of it and the concern. Yeah, they're young athletes. They're very healthy. They're very conditioned. And so what if they get, test positive for the corona? There hasn't been any serious effects, but now we're hearing and you can help me out with the pronunciation, but the micron hiatus or whatever, help me out with the medical terminology regarding the effect of the heart for the young people. That's the worst case scenario that you don't want. You don't want a student athlete to go down and suffer any, major illness, and God forbid, the worst of the case.
Yeah, Jerry, I understand. And there have been isolated reports. There were talks about autoimmune problems in young people, but I will just tell you, there hasn't. And there are people that are speculating that you could have problems years down the road, that kind of thing. I am unconvinced. And it's easy to be alarmist, and you can find issues like that with the flu, one thing and another. So I disagree. I think these people are safe. There may be an occasional problem. I think if there is a problem, these are inflammatory problems that are going to go away. Nobody has demonstrated, and I don't think they're going to demonstrate it, and I don't think it's going to happen, that in any significant numbers that this disease is a risk to these people. But, there are people who are heavily invested in their points of view on both sides. And, we just saw, our paper was just published showing complete safety for the heart of hydroxychloroquine. And after the FDA came out a couple of months ago and said that you could die and it's dangerous, and we did this very deep dive into the literature, and found that it's not, it just isn't. So it's very easy to be alarmist. And look, I think the people being alarmist are sincere. They're worried, but I just don't think it's much of a concern for what we know now. And I don't think it's going to be a concern.
Yeah, I just think that there are some folks out there, Doc, and, again, God forbid that, a young person succumbs to this, and that's the last thing that any school or any family or any parent wants to, to hear and to go through, that, they lost, their young student athlete because of this coronavirus.
But Jerry, sorry, it isn't happening, and it hasn't happened. And you could take the argument, well, then take away all the car keys, right? There's going to be a person, God forbid, in a fatal car crash. There are going to be people that are going to succumb to the flu. Every year there are athletes that succumb to a cardiomyopathy. But the risk from this disease for these people is exceedingly low, and you're never going to make any risk zero. But look at all the, and we've been through this, and everybody knows these arguments. But there's suicide, there's drug addiction, there's the effects of boredom and all that. So I think all of the evidence is that it is exceedingly safe. I mean, there just haven't been problems. I don't think there are going to be in any numbers, or numbers that warrant, ending all this. And then the counter argument is, well, wait till we get a good vaccine, wait till we get better in treatment. You can make that argument, but there's no guarantee that the vaccine's going to be good. There's no guarantee that everybody's going to take it, as far as that goes. So I think that the safety has been so great that despite these occasional reports of possible problems, I think it's heavily in favor of just getting on with life.
Yeah,
and football.
And I understand, and I hear exactly what you're saying, and I'm torn between the two, because parts of me believe and understand what you're saying, but other parts of me say, it's better to be safe than sorry, as they say, and you don't want to be that family. And yeah, you're right. And there are people, they get in their cars, and there are car accidents. I don't know, the statistics. One every, 3 minutes. I don't know. There are motorcycle accidents. There are people that, they die from cancer because they smoking cigarettes, whatever the case may be. I understand that. But you don't, if you have a way to control it, if you have a way to prevent it, and you have a way to eventually eliminate it, why wouldn't you try to put yourself?
Because, Jerry, you don't. That doesn't exist. The way to control it completely, I suppose, is maybe a lockdown. But even the lockdowns, people get it from being locked down inside. First of all, and that's what I'm saying, and what, like Coach Holtz pointed out, if these kids aren't playing football, they're not going to spend every waking second completely locked up. Far from it. They are probably likelier to have problems and get exposed. Like you said, they're young people. They're going to go out, right? So they go home and they go out with their buddies. I think they're much likelier to go out with their buddies back home than in the regimented area. That's one of the big fallacies of this whole thing. The alternative is not what people think. It's been estimated in Australia and elsewhere that more people are dying from suicides, from drug problems. A lot of these athletes don't come from privileged backgrounds. So they're going to go into environments that aren't that great. I think that they are safer being in the environment in a controlled program with a coach that's going to watch everything that's going on than being out on their own.
Well, I mean, that's the top debate that's going on, not only around, with you and I on the Sports Medicine Update, the podcast, but it's also, around the country and around the world.
And, Jerry, I'm sorry. Yeah. One other thing that I want to mention, the other thing that gets left out of this discussion, all these discussions in general, is what about the right of people to make decisions about themselves? And this is what I'm saying. If an athlete knows the risks as best he can tell, and they're minimal might be overstating it. And if they say, look, I want to play, and the parents say they want to play, I think there has been a notable disdain in many quarters with this whole thing, with the rights of people to, make their own determinations. Now, clearly, you don't want people to do reckless, crazy things or things that endanger other people. But in a case like this, where it's clearly safe, is it completely safe? Maybe not. Let the athletes decide. Let the families decide.
But that's the point, Doc. You have the right to make a decision as far as what you want to do with your life, but you can't infringe your rights upon my rights and violate what I believe. Hence, it's a virus, as you well know, and it could spread from one person to the other. And if you give it to me, and then I take it home, and I have a a parent that is suffering from, and we know in the black and brown community that the numbers have spiked considerably. And we know that most of these athletes, they come from, as you talked about, not so well off, backgrounds and black and brown communities. And so if you get that virus and then you take it back to your family who has diabetes, high blood pressure, sarcoidosis, or whatever the case may be, now you're jeopardizing not only yourself, which you might be okay because you're a 20-something-year-old kid who's healthy and can, fight it off, so to speak, but now you're jeopardizing possibly a whole household and eventually a community, and that's what it's all about.
Wait a second.
But you as an individual have the right to do what you feel is best for you, but it's
your family though, Jerry. When you said the community, that's where you lose me. And that's the thing. It's your family. So if you've got an athlete who's there and they've got people at home, that family has a right to make a decision. Maybe the athlete stays there and he doesn't come home. And if the athlete goes home and he goes out with his buddies, he's far likelier to infect the family. So what I'm saying is, you're not going to infect the community. In a worst case, you might go home and infect somebody there, but give the families the right to make that decision for themselves. And like I said, you're not going to infect the community unless you go someplace else, but that can happen at home. So if you've got a young gentleman who wants to play and he's got a father with diabetes and a mother who doesn't, the family gets together and they decide, well, we want to take this risk, if there is any risk, and I don't think there is much of one, or not. Therefore, that the young gentleman isn't going to come home while he's got this. Give the family, because it's your family. You're not spreading it to the community. In a worst case, you're spreading it at home when you get home. And if that's
the point.
But if that guy's home, he's likelier to spread it because he's going to be going out with his buddies. At school, he won't be. But let the family decide within their family what they think. Because I know what you're saying. You don't have a right to jeopardize other people, but you're not jeopardizing other people. It's just you and your family making a decision for itself. That's not other people. That's not the community.
Look, but it is, Doc, because here's the case. Let's go to the Major League Baseball, and we've seen the cases all over the place. When you talk about, the Marlins, you talk about the St. Louis Cardinals, you talk about, some of the other teams around the major leagues who have numbers. We even look at Zach Plesac with the Cleveland Indians last week after he beat the White Sox, shut them down in 7 innings over at the U.S. Cellular Field. Because of his roots in the Chicagoland area, Northwest Indiana, he had a great game against the White Sox. His family, he goes across the Indiana, the border, and he's hanging out with his family, and he takes a teammate, and they go out to a bar. The Major League Baseball say, hey, wait a minute. We have a protocol in place. You aren't allowed to do that. And so they sent him home, and they had him drive a rental car back from Chicago to Cleveland because he violated the protocol, jeopardizing himself as well as his teammates. And that's the whole point there. I mean, he has the right to go do that. There's no question about it. But in your right to do that, you don't have the right to come back and possibly infect me with this virus because
it's your own family. You're right. But that athlete being at school is less likely to infect his family. He's less likely to infect the community. He is safer and he is less of a risk being at school than he would be at home. That's my point.
No, I understand, and it's a great topic because there's I don't know if there's a right or a wrong, to be honest with you, because we're some places we've never been before as a society, and we're all going through this together, and we're all trying to find the proper answers and the right answers. And I think when you look in the world of sports, one league that appears to have the right answer, Doc, and we segue to the National Basketball Association because they are down in a bubble in Orlando at Disney World, and their numbers, they're flatlined, and they're doing everything right, and their numbers reflect that. What are your thoughts on what they're doing in the National Basketball League, National Basketball Association, and the numbers fighting COVID?
Yeah, well said, Jerry. I couldn't agree more. They're doing it right. And honestly, from my perspective, I like the fact that they went for it. I think there's different ways that you can do it. They're doing a terrific job. baseball is doing it differently. So they're certainly doing well and they're having success. And honestly, so, I have a newsletter and I put things on Facebook and I write about this a fair amount. In fact, I was just invited to be a presenter at a huge COVID-19 conference in Rome, which I'm probably not going to go to. But what a lot of people tell me is they say, man, I get so depressed over all the negative news. It's nice to hear something with at least a little positive spin. And I think, as I've said before, I think most of the indices are positive. I think we're winning. I think people are responsible. Cases are down, deaths are down, infectivity is down. And so I think that the NBA, and as you said, they've done a great job, and all these leagues just getting back to normal, just getting back to life. I think that's going to save lives for people that are having major depression over this thing because life looks a little more normal. So I applaud them. As you say, they've done a great job.
So, Doc, real quick, we got to ask you, since this thing hit back in, early part of the year and we shut things down in March, we've been hearing the second phase, and we haven't really gotten out of the first phase, and the numbers kind of went up and they kind of roller coaster, but we keep hearing the second phase, and that second phase meaning, coronavirus resurfacing because of the flu season. Does that alarm you? Does that send up a red flag, or what are your recommendations and thoughts on the flu season? Because it's just really around the corner.
It doesn't alarm me at all, and I'll tell you something else. What I can tell you for sure, I can tell you, number one, that I don't know what's going to happen. And I can tell you for sure that none of the experts know what's going to happen. So nobody knows. What I do know is that, I'll tell you an interesting thing, and it's kind of a long digression that I won't get into, but look at New York. So New York has antibody rates of up to 50% in some places, the Bronx and whatnot. Now, New York's pretty horrible. All those people died. But I believe they have herd immunity. And I was saying this before, because now there's like no deaths, So what I'm saying is the whole lockdown culture, I think it just doesn't work. And I'll tell you another interesting thing, and this is a little far afield, but think about this. So they have found that 80% of the people, so one study in Germany, they took blood from people that had never had coronavirus and found that 80% of those people had partial immunity against COVID-19 from apparently prior exposures to the flu. So here's the thing. We are meant to go out and get exposed and get sick. That's how our immune systems develop. Allergies have been tied to overly clean homes and soaps that kill all bacteria, So one thing that worries me a little is that this whole lockdown thing where if you're the slightest sick, just stay away. I think it's counterproductive because all these people that have partial immunity, and look at all these people that get infected and they have no symptoms, right? So a prevailing theory is it's because of the partial immunity. So the more you go down the road of everybody is like the boy in the bubble kind of thing, what that's going to do in the future is people aren't going to get immunity to anything. And it's just a myth that you can isolate people forever and prevent exposure to germs and eliminate problems, because there's depression, there's suicide, there's poverty, there's lots of stuff. And the other thing that I'm kind of mentioning here to think about is that there is being too isolated so that your immune system doesn't function. And our immune systems were not meant to not function. And I'll tell you another interesting thing, and I don't want to digress too much, but poor people sometimes do better with diseases for that reason. So you may or you may not know the story about polio. So polio was a disease of the affluent. Why? Because they were not out playing in the mud and drinking out of a fire hose and whatnot, And so when you get out and you get exposed to things, you get immune. You get immune to it, Right. And so what I'm saying is that now a whole nother thing with the flu. So, diseases are going to occur and bad things are going to happen. And you try to minimize them. But first of all, in the second wave, so there's lots of evidence from lots of places. Italy and New York today, Italy in particular, to name a place that was harder hit than any place, where they're finding that it's just less bad than it was. There's debate as to why. Some people think that it's mutating. Some people think that it's herd immunity or other things. But I don't think there's going to be a terrible second wave. It takes some common sense, social distance, wear a mask. And I think it's dangerous to get paranoid if you do. I read an interesting thing in the paper. It was from Australia, which is having a little bit of resurgence, and New Zealand, which New Zealand said it's dead. We completely eliminated it. Well, guess what? It just came back. It just started after, 2-3 months. So now they want to cut down. And I read this thing that said it's like a beach ball. You can only hold it under the water so long, and it's going to come up. So like I said before, let the young, healthy people get infected, protect their elderly people at home, protect the elderly, period, treat them intelligently. Let's go for a vaccine. But I just don't want to see a wave of paranoia now about flu. And if you sneeze, everybody, loses their mind. So I don't think it's going to be terrible.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Doc, and we'll continue to talk about this on the Sports Medicine Update. Unfortunately, it appears as if, and when it all started, it said, hey, we're all in this together. But now it appears as if there are two different worlds, Doc. There's a world that totally believes that, this virus is here, that COVID-19 exists, and it can claim lives. We see the numbers continue to move upward. But there are other people, the other side, the other world, that say, you know what? It is what it is. And I'm not, no pun intended regarding what, the president said, but, life happens. And this is a part of life. So, unfortunately, when we all have to be together, we have to come to some type of common sense and some type of common ground. And right now, the jury is still out. Again, we commend what's going on in the National Basketball Association. They seem to have a grasp of it. They seem to have a handle of it, and they've got it under control. Major League Baseball is doing everything they possibly can to get back to some type of discipline and some type of control. And we're seeing what's going on as far as the collegiate ranks are concerned when you talk about football. Incidentally, Iowa, the Hawkeyes just announced that as of this broadcast, that they're going to eliminate about 3 or 4 sports. I think swimming, tennis, and volleyball. So it's going to affect those young people as well. But I think, the powers that be are trying to take the best precaution and say we'd rather be safe than sorry, Doc.
You're right. Everybody's trying to do the right thing. And the best thing is, Jerry, you do such a great job of bringing out the arguments. The most useful thing, and if this podcast is of any use to anybody, just a way to get the arguments on both sides. I think, forgive me, I think it was, Cicero maybe? Going back to high school Latin, I can't remember. Somebody who said that the way to truth, something like the way to truth is to argue everything for and everything against. So, it's the most important thing. Just discuss it.
Well, our job right here, Doc, is just to inform people, educate people, and enlighten people, and provide the information for them and let them decide independently on their own what they think is best, as you talked about, for themselves and for their family. And we're not trying to side one way or the other. We just want to get the information out there and let you know there's two sides to every story. There are two sides to every coin, and we want you to take the best approach to taking care of yourself and your family. And you do a fantastic job of enlightening people and sharing that information. Doc, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, if they want to find out more about Dr. Chad Prodromus, Sports Medicine Update, how do they get a hold of you?
So our office phone is 847-699-6810. If you call, you get an actual human being, by the way, not a phone bank. And we've got a great staff. Our email is ortho@ismoc.net. And for the people that, and we're getting a few that write in with questions about injuries or any of this stuff, we're happy to answer and put things on the air that seem of interest.
Sounds good, Doctor. Always a pleasure and opportunity to talk with you. And get out and enjoy as much of this beautiful weather that we're experiencing because, as you know, the dog days of summer are vastly approaching. And, of course, the sun is going to start to go down and the temperatures are going to start to go down. And we won't have the opportunity to chill on a deck like this, Doc. So it's always a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. And we'll definitely talk to you next week on the Sports Medicine Update, your weekly podcast. Take care, Doc.
Jerry, you too. Thanks.